पण बीत गयो सो गयो बीत, पण बीत गयो सो गयो बीत। अब उड़री झूठी आस त्याग रे, धोरा वाला देश जाग रे, धोरा वाला देश जाग रे। देख मिनक मुरझाए रहो, मरने से मुश्किल है जीणो। रे देख मिनक मुरझाए रहो, मरने से मुश्किल है जीणो।
हमको अपने घर के दरवाजे का साइज बड़ा करने की इजाजत नहीं। वो कहते हैं कि छोटा साइज रखो क्योंकि तुम छोटी जात के हो, बड़ा साइज तो बड़ी जात के लोग रखेंगे।
इधर उधर पानी नहीं भरने देते थे, हमारा मटका उधर रख के पानी यहाँ से ले जाके वहाँ भरो। स्वास्थ्य ये जाति वगैरह विवाद बहुत चलता है।
लोग पलायन करते हैं, मजदूरी करते हैं, काल रात कार्य चलते हैं, सरकारी कामों पे काम जाते हैं, तो उनको न्याय नहीं मिलता, उनको पूरा वेज नहीं मिलता।
सब चोर कर्म करते हैं, कागज गुप्त रखते थे, देते भी नहीं थे।
गांव में मीटिंगें की, मीटिंग करने के बाद में जिलाधीश ने एक जांच बिठाई। उसके बाद मस्टोल में जो फर्जी बरा पटवारी, पीडब्ल्यूडी का बेलदार और 2 के खिलाफ मुकदमा दर्ज हुआ।
अब जब हम संगठन से जुड़े हैं और संगठन की ताकत हमारे पीछे है, तो हम भी संगठित हुए हैं, हमको भी ताकत मिली है, लोग भी सेंसिटाइज हुए हैं और प्रशासन को भी एक डर बैठ गया है। तो लग रहा है कि कुछ तो बदल रहा है।
हमारा संघर्ष तो चालू है, खत्म की तो कोई बात ही नहीं है। अभी तो कुछ नहीं किया, एक सीढ़ी, एक छोटा सा रास्ता मिला है, इसमें तो बहुत काम है।
The genesis of the RTI movement, as you probably know, lay in the very simple movement of people, rural folk in Rajasthan, to seek information regarding how the poverty alleviation program being implemented.
Once you have a right to information, it's a very, very big thing. And since MKSS was the one who fought for this and brought it about, I wanted to see how they actually.
जब तक आप गांव में बीच में ना रहो और उनके परेशानियों को एहसास ना करो और उसको झेलने के लिए मिलकर काम ना करो, तब तक तो आपकी राजनीति नहीं बन सकती है। राजनीति तभी पनप सकता है जब आप लोगों के साथ मिलकर राजनीति को पनपाएं। उसकी वजह से हम देवभूमि आए।
His Excellency, the former President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee. Ladies and gentlemen, a loud round of applause for the former President, His Excellency, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, who will be presenting the 2019 Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award for Community and Human Renewal to Miss Aruna Roy. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause for our chief guest, His Excellency, former President Shri Pranab Mukherjee, His Holiness, the Catholicos of the East, Youhanon Baselios, Thoma Paulos II, Honorable Member of Parliament, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, the Metropolitan of the Delhi Diocese, His Grace Dr. Youhanon Mar Demetrios, Thank you very much, dignitaries. Kindly take your seat as we begin this evening's function. The Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award was instituted by the Sophia Society back in 1984, which was founded by Dr. Gregorios to undertake, promote and assist in activities of national unity, community health, social education, peace and justice, and in related areas of personal, social, economic and cultural development. The award has been a biennial event for the last 20 years or so for interfaith dialogue and cooperation, for community self-renewal, holistic health practices, education with a moral inclination, and community and human renewal. The 1997 award for interfaith dialogue was received by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The 1999 award for community self-renewal was awarded to Dr. Verghese Kurian, the founder of AMUD. The 2001 award for holistic health practices was received by Dr. P.K. Warrior of Kottakkal Arya Vaidashala. The 2005 award for creative compassion and selfless service of the needy was received by Dr. Baba Amte. The 2010 award for interfaith dialogue and culture was received by Dr. Karan Singh, Honorable Member of Parliament. This evening, the Paulos Mar Gregorios Award 2019 for Community and Human Renewal is being conferred on Ms. Aruna Roy and the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan, the driving force behind the Right to Information Act. Ladies and gentlemen, we begin this evening's ceremony with a prayer invoking our minds to open to God, the supreme being of this universe. It's sung by the choir, Ekhara. Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya, from darkness lead me to light. Light represents the positive, the good, and the spirit of knowledge. May I request all our honorable guests on the dais to join us for the lamp lighting ceremony. I request His Excellency, the former President, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, to lead us in the lamp lighting ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause for all our honorable dignitaries and leading the way from darkness to light. May I now invite His Grace Dr. Youhanon Mar Demetrios, the Metropolitan of Delhi, to welcome the gathering this evening. His Grace.
Bharat Ratna Shri Pranab Mukherjee, former President of India, Honorable His Holiness Baselios Thoma Paulos II, Catholicos of the East and Malagra Metropolitan, Honorable Member of Parliament from Thiruvananthapuram, Shri Shashi Tharoor, Ms. Aruna Roy and members of the MKSS, Father Dr. K.M. George, former Principal of the Orthodox Theological Seminary, Kottayam, and Director of Sopanam Institute, Kottayam, Father Saji Youhanon, Diocesan Secretary, Excellencies, Ambassadors of Ethiopia and Eritrea, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Your Graces, Reverend Fathers, Reverend Sisters, officials and leaders of the social and political organizations, and leaders of businesses and corporate concerns, distinguished principals, respected teachers and students, members of the media, and brothers and sisters who have come here this evening to participate in the 6th Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award. At the very beginning, I would like to bow my head in reverence to my mentor and the person who turned my feet to the service of the church, and as a professor of New Testament at the Orthodox Theological Seminary, Metropolitan Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios. His thoughts and his writings continue to influence my own thinking, the crucible in which I formulate my own responses to my situation in life. On this occasion, on behalf of the Malankara Orthodox Church in the Diocese of Delhi, we are privileged to have this evening as our chief guest, Bharat Ratna Shri Pranab Mukherjee, a person of unequaled stature as a statesman and as a political leader who has guided the history of the administration and government of this country for a long time. I still recall my days at college when Shri Pranab Mukherjee burst on the scene and was able to bring together, through his astute leadership, the various political parties and to provide a leadership that made India an outstanding member of the Committee of Nations. To you, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, on behalf of the Malankara Orthodox Church, the Diocese of Delhi, we extend our very warm and cordial welcome. His Holiness Youhanon Mar Baselios, Thoma, Paulos II, Catholicos of the East and Malankara Metropolitan, is a person who remains very humble in spite of the position that he holds in the church. Through his inspired leadership, dedication and commitment to the ideals of the church, especially his concern and care for those who are marginalized, those who are affected in severe ways, and all those who were experiencing the brunt of adverse situations. His Holiness is a constant support and a help. To you, Your Holiness, we extend our most warm and cordial welcome. Shri Shashi Tharoor, beloved Member of Parliament from Thiruvananthapuram, whose incisive and penetrating analysis of social and national issues in serendipitous structures of syntax that leave us baffled not only by its meaning but also by its very pronunciation. Perhaps the verbal gymnastics of Shri Shashi Tharoor can be equaled only by his adept skill in politics by which he leads this nation in both national and international situations. Honorable Member of Parliament from Thiruvananthapuram, Shri Shashi Tharoor, we extend our very warm and cordial welcome. Ms. Aruna Roy was reputed and renowned for her championing of the cause of those whose rights have been trampled upon by members of the society and strata who care little for the lives and the plight of others, especially as she advocated the rights, the constitutional rights of those laborers in agriculture. She has won renowned attention. Especially, she has caught our attention as both she and the MKSS took a campaign to bring about the right to information, which provided a very felicitous channel by which we could engage the government and the administration. Mrs. Roy, Aruna Roy, and to the MKSS, we extend our very warm welcome. Father Dr. K.M. George has been a priest of the Malankara Orthodox Church whose close involvement and engagement with Metropolitan Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios has made him perhaps the leading expert on his thinking and his writings. He has been a strong factor in all the previous awards, and on this occasion, on behalf of the Diocese of Delhi and Sophia Society, we extend our warm welcome. Father Sati Youhanon, Diocesan Secretary, has been a tireless worker to put together this award and has been a strong advocate for the functioning of the Diocese of Delhi. To Father Sati Youhanon, we extend our warm welcome. Your Excellencies, ambassadors from Ethiopia, Eritrea, Diplomatic Corps, Your Graces, Vicar General, Reverend Fathers, Reverend Deacons, to all of you, we want to thank you on this occasion and welcome you to the 6th Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award. Leaders of political societies, social organizations, and business concerns, we extend to you also our warm welcome. Distinguished principals, teachers, and students from educational institutions, members of the media, we extend to all of you our warm welcome for your presence here this evening. And to all of you who have come here together in appreciation of the person and the writings of Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios, all my brothers and sisters who are present here, we extend on behalf of the Diocese of Delhi and Sophia Society a very warm welcome, and with thanks for this to all of you, I conclude this welcome address.
Thank you very much, His Grace, Dr. Youhanon Mar Demetrios, the Metropolitan of Delhi. His Holiness, the Catholicos of the East, Youhanon Mar Baselios Mar Thoma Paulose II, is the supreme head of the Orthodox Church in India. May I now invite His Holiness to deliver the presidential address. Ladies and gentlemen, the Catholicos of the East, His Holiness Youhanon Mar Baselios Mar Thoma Paulose II.
Bharat Ratna Shri Pranab Mukherjee, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, our very own Member of Parliament, very respected Mrs. Aruna Roy, my brother Bishop Dr. Youhanon Mar Demetrios, Reverend Dr. K.M. George and other priests, Excellencies and distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, and my beloved of the Church. I am absolutely delighted to be here today for two important reasons. One, Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios, in whose honor we have established the award, is a gift of God to the Orthodox Church, the nation, and the world. I have said is a gift of God because although he is no more with us here physically today, we believe that he lives eternally and vibrantly in the bosom of God Almighty. During his life on earth from 1922 to 1996, he achieved so many things and gathered so much knowledge and wisdom that it is unimaginable. I had the great fortune to be taught by him at the Orthodox Theological Seminary in Kottayam, Kerala. We have gathered here today to honor such a rare person. This is indeed a great day for the Church. The second reason why I am so happy to be here in the national capital is that I am surrounded by a galaxy of eminent men and women, especially on the dais with the presence of Shri Mukherjee, Shri Shashi Tharoor, and Mrs. Roy, and others in the audience. Again, this is a great honor for the Indian Orthodox Church. Shri Pranab Mukherjee is an elder statesman of the global community and a mentor to the entire nation in the line of Jawaharlal Nehru, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, and Swami Vivekananda. He has achieved and contributed so much in his decades of public life that he is a rare phenomenon of modern India. Dr. Shashi Tharoor is a man of many gifts and a unique individual. He is an orator par excellence and the pride of Kerala. He is a hero of the social media and distinguished himself with his track record in the United Nations. I have no words to express my highest regard and respect for Mrs. Aruna Roy. She is a companion of the downtrodden and a crusader for justice and just society. 21st century, India needs more Aruna Roys. She is a role model for the young generation of our nation. On behalf of the entire Indian Orthodox Church, I thank all three of them for being an integral part of today's function. I would now like to take a few minutes to share my thoughts of my Guru, Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios. First, although he was an ardent Christian, he was treasured as a friend by all religions and religious leaders of his time throughout the world. As the president of the World Council of Churches, he was a leader of the Christian ecumenical global community and a champion of interfaith dialogue. Second, he was a visionary on economic philosophy and thinking. Recent years have seen a backlash against globalization and global trade. In the late 80s and 90s, when it was fashionable to talk about globalization and multinationals, he raised awareness against some of the dangers they posed. Third, even though technology, social media and internet are the rage all over the world today, he foresaw those aspects that were inimical in them, as some people have started recognizing of late. Fourth, when the world is now grappling with the catastrophe of climate change and challenges to nature and environment, he envisioned the importance of these more than a quarter of a century back. Fifth, while the real and imminent dangers of nuclear armament are upon us, he passionately championed for nuclear disarmament way back in the 80s. He even counseled some of the global leaders who were his friends against it. While he had the global community of leaders from Michael Gorbachev in USSR to His Holiness the Dalai Lama as his friend, he was equally at comfort with the children and dispossessed of the world. He was destined to be a prince of this world in all its true sense, having become quite close to Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. But he chose the path of being a servant and disciple of Lord Jesus Christ. The kingdom of God, a new world order, and compassion for the poor were three cornerstones of the vision and mission of his life. For all of the above, it is only fitting that we have gathered here today. I am thankful to each and every one of you who are here, and also to all those who have worked tirelessly to make this function happen. May God bless all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, His Holiness, the Catholicos of the East. We are honored to have with us tonight Dr. Shashi Tharoor, Honorable Member of Parliament, an author, politician and former diplomat. Dr. Tharoor straddles several worlds of experience. He's currently a third-term Lok Sabha MP, representing the Thiruvananthapuram constituency, the capital of Kerala. He's previously served as Minister of State for Human Resource Development and Minister of State for External Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, Please put your hands together for Dr. Shashi Tharoor.
Shri Pranab Mukherjee, former President of the Republic of India, His Holiness Baselios Mar Thoma Paulos II, Catholicos of the East and Metropolitan of the Malankara Orthodox Syrian Church, his very kind words were very touching. Srimati Aruna Roy, eminent civil society leader and founder of the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan, who's done such wonderful work, admired her for a long time, worthy winner of today's award. His Grace Dr. Youhanon Mar Demetrios, our host this evening, Dr. K.M. George, Father Saji Youhanon, Your Excellencies the Ambassadors and other members of this distinguished audience, ladies and gentlemen, friends, I hope that covers everybody. As we say in Kerala, it's a rare privilege to be invited to deliver the keynote address on the occasion of the 2019 Paulos Mar Gregorios Award, a moment all the more memorable for the memory of the man and the eternal legacy that we have gathered here to commemorate, the extraordinary man, the late Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios, whom his successor has so beautifully spoken about, a formidable luminary of his time, the first Metropolitan of the Delhi Diocese of the Malankara Orthodox Syrian Church. If he were with us today, I'm sure he would be delighted to note that this year's choice of recipient is one of the most distinguished leaders in contemporary Indian society, whose life's work has been dedicated to empowering the disenfranchised, ensuring that our constitutionally guaranteed rights are never compromised, and who on innumerable occasions has been a seasoned guardian and voice of the moral consciousness of our nation. So let me begin by congratulating Srimati Aruna Roy for this well-deserved recognition. And repeating my warm and generous admiration, genuine admiration, for the work that she's done for our society. Though the RTI that she initiated has been diluted by our present government, and recent times have seen the rise of a fundamental contestation to her idea of an India in which all Indians are equal, I do take some comfort in knowing that with leaders like Aruna Roy fighting to preserve the pluralist and inclusive fabric of our country, hope is still alive. Now, you had originally asked me for a half-hour lecture on the role of minorities in nation building. On arrival, I discovered this had been reduced to 8 minutes on the program. I shall therefore dramatically truncate my remarks and make a few brief remarks on the issue of minorities, but I hope that Pranab will forgive me if I don't stick to the allotted time. Like the other speakers, I will need a little more to at least do brief justice to key aspects, if not delivering a full lecture. Now, I mentioned I didn't have the privilege of knowing Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios personally, but from reading about him and indeed his prolific writing, it strikes me that in him, a guru to many of the distinguished leaders of the church here, the country was blessed with a truly remarkable mind and a force to reckon with among Indian thinkers. In many ways, in reading about him, I was between Paulos Mar Gregorios and another great Indian thinker and leader, spiritual leader, whose convictions resonate most strongly with my own, and who has been an inspiration to me from my formative years, Swami Vivekananda. It may surprise some of you to realize how much the two of them have in common. I'll give you one example today only. About a century after the Swami rose to address his sisters and brothers of America at the first Parliament of Religions, the World Parliament of Religions in Chicago in September 1893, a very similar speech was delivered a century later by Paulos Mar Gregorios, who spoke at the Centenary Conference, the second conference of the World Parliament of Religions in 1993. And one idea they both expressed I want to share with you. The Swami said, "I am proud to speak to you on behalf of a faith that teaches not just tolerance, but acceptance. And this was an idea that I read as a young boy, and it stayed in my mind. I've thought about it for decades, and every time I think about it, the more profound it seems to me. Because though we are all taught in school that tolerance is a virtue, a tolerant king is a good king because he tolerates people of other different beliefs and so on, the fact is that tolerance is a very patronizing idea. It basically says, I have the truth, you are in error, but I shall magnanimously indulge you in your right to be wrong. Whereas what Swami Vivekananda speaks about instead is acceptance. And acceptance is a far more profound idea. It says, I believe I have the truth, you believe you have the truth, I will respect your truth, please respect my truth. And to my mind, this profound idea can be found in many of Paulos Mar Gregorios' writings and statements, and I'll quote one of his points in one of his lectures, quote, I certainly do not want my religion to be tolerated as if it were an unavoidable nuisance. If others do not want to appreciate it, they're free to ignore it. But for God's sake, please do not tolerate Christianity as if it were a nuisance, something others dislike and would rather not have around. In fact, I submit that tolerance is the wrong word to denote the ideal relationship between religions. If anything, it has to be mutual understanding and mutual respect based on such understanding. Tolerance is a typically Western word used by people who generally dislike religions other than their own. What we should promote is not interreligious tolerance, but rather interreligious understanding and harmony, with mutual respect and cooperation in the service of humanity, unquote. So you can see why I consider myself a follower of both Swami Vivekananda and Paulos Mar Gregorios. Now the contemporary relevance of the revered Tirumeni's argument is striking, because India, after all, is a country that has historically thrived not just by recognizing this principle of the acceptance of differences, but by integrating it into the lived experience of her peoples. In many ways, this is the core principle underlining the now contested idea of India, whose demise some are actively seeking even while India celebrates a few weeks from now the 73rd anniversary of its independence. Because difference, diversity, variety are obvious terms that come to mind when speaking of India. As we know, any truism about India can be immediately contradicted by another truism about India. It's often jokingly said that anything you can say about India, the opposite is also true. The country's national motto, emblazoned on its governmental crest, is Satyameva Jayate, truth alone triumphs. But the question remains, however, whose truth? It is a question to which there are at least 1.2 billion answers if the last census hasn't undercounted us again. So the basic truth about our country lies in a simple insight, that the singular thing about India is that you can only speak of it in the plural. There are, in other words, many Indias. Everything exists in countless variants. There is no single standard, no fixed stereotype, no one way of being or doing things. This pluralism is acknowledged so far in the way in which India manages its own affairs. All groups, faiths, tastes, ideologies survive and contend for their place in the sun. Diversity underpins our democracy, including diversity of being, diversity of expression, diversity of belief and opinion. India, wrote the British historian E.P. Thompson, is perhaps the most important country for the future of the world. All the converted influences of this world run through this society, he said. There is not a thought that is being taught in the East or the West that is not active in some Indian mind. I'm glad a Brit said that and not an Indian. But that Indian mind has been shaped by remarkably diverse forces. Ancient Hindu tradition, myth and scripture, the impact of Islam and Christianity, and 2 centuries of British colonial rule. The result is unique. Many observers have been astonished by India's survival as a pluralist state. But India could hardly have survived as anything else. Pluralism is a reality that emerges from the very nature of the country. It is a choice made inevitable by India's geography and reaffirmed by its history. Ours is a civilization that for millennia has offered refuge and more important religious and cultural freedom to Jews, to Parsis, to several varieties of Christians, and of course to Muslims. I had a lot of stories to tell you about their arrival and acceptance, each of these groups, but I will leave that for another occasion. But one great story that encapsulates perhaps the experience of all of them is how when Christianity arrived on the shores of Kerala in the form of St. Thomas the Apostle, doubting Thomas of the Bible, oral legend says that he was welcomed onto the Kerala coast by a flute-playing Jewish girl from a community that had arrived even earlier. That is India. But then some are asking the question, if I describe India the way I did, who then is an Indian? I respond, you see, we are all minorities in India. A typical Indian stepping off a train, a Hindi-speaking Hindu male from the Gangetic Plain state of Uttar Pradesh, might cherish the illusion that he represents the majority community, to use an expression much favored by the less industrious of our journalists. But he does not. See, as a Hindu, he belongs to the faith adhered to by some 80% of the population, but a majority of the country does not speak Hindi. A majority does not hail from Uttar Pradesh. So you could be forgiven for thinking otherwise when you go there. And if he were visiting, say, our state of Kerala, he would discover that a majority there is not even male. Worse, our archetypal UP Hindu has only to mingle with the multicolored clouds, and I'm referring to the color of our skins, not of their clothes, the polyglot crowds thronging any of India's major railway stations, to realize how much of a minority he really is. There are thousands of ways of being Hindu and of practicing various versions of Hinduism. None can claim that theirs is the only authentic or approved way. So even Hinduism is not a guarantee of majorityhood. And our Hindiwalas Hindi neither. Because of course, as I said, not everyone speaks his language. And if you were to just say he's a majority community because he's a Hindu, then you have to ask, what about his caste? Whatever caste you belong to, that caste is not a majority. You're a Brahmin, well, 89% of your fellow Indians are not. 90% perhaps. And if you are a Yadav or a so-called backward caste, perhaps 85% of Indians are not, and so on. So the point is that all of this in our country makes the notion of minority itself a challengeable one. As I say, in some respect, every one of us in India is a minority in relation to the rest. And that is very important, because one must resist the idea that some have been proposing that, this country should not be a country for all who live in it, all who live on the territory of India. It should instead, they say, be a Hindu Rashtra, a nation in which Hindus are the principal, indeed, the nation of the Hindus, where all non-Hindus only live on their sufferance. That, to me, is the fundamental issue that we have had to face and challenge and contest in the political arguments our country has been facing in the last few years. Because the fundamental idea of India rests from the very moment of partition. Because one group of people said religion should be the determinant of nationhood, and they prevailed in a part of the country. They founded a country called Pakistan, so theirs was the idea of Pakistan. And the remaining parts of the nationalist movement, the vast majority of it, said no, ours is a struggle for everybody, and our country too shall be a country for everybody, and that was the idea of India. So in rejecting the case for Pakistan, Indian nationalism had rejected the very idea that religion should determine our nationhood. We never fell into the insidious trap of agreeing that since Pakistan had established a state for Muslims, what remained was a state for the Hindus. So to accept the idea of India, you simply had to spurn that kind of logic. But that's the logic, rejected in 47, that they're trying to bring, some are trying to bring back into our country today. And that's why it's extremely important that we speak with courage and determination of a different idea of India, That would have been the theme of my overall lecture, but as I said, we'll save that for another occasion when there is more time. But I do want to say that the change in the public discourse about Indianness is very dangerous these days. The notion of majority and minority is fundamentally un-Indian and fails to reflect the real nature of our society. To my mind, the very suggestion that only a Hindu, and that too only a certain kind of Hindu, can be an authentic Indian is an affront to the very premise of Indian nationalism. An India that denies itself to some of us could end up being denied to all of us. The Indian identity that I want to celebrate is one that recognizes diversity. I used to tell Americans when I was living there, if you are a melting pot, we are not. We are a thali, a selection of sumptuous dishes in different bowls. Each tastes different. Each is in a different bowl, so it doesn't necessarily flow into the next or mix with the next. But they belong together on the same plate, and they complement each other in making the meal a satisfying repast. India's founding fathers wrote a constitution for their dreams. We have just given passports to their ideals. Any narrow definition of Indianness would not just be pernicious, it would be an insult to Indian nationhood. An India that denies itself to some Indians would no longer be the India that Mahatma Gandhi fought to free. I will conclude with a story from our ancient Puranas. It's a story of a typical Indian sage and his two disciples. The sage asks his disciples, when does the night end? And the disciples say, by dawn, of course. The sage says, I know that. But when does the night end and the dawn begin? The first disciple, who's from the tropical south of India, where most people in this room come from, replies, oh, when the first glimmer of light across the sky, fronds on the coconut trees, swaying in the breeze, that is when the night ends and the dawn begins. The sage says no. So the second disciple, who's from the cold north, ventures, okay, well, when the first streaks of sunshine make the snow gleam white on the mountaintops of the Himalayas, when they glint and glitter off the ice on the mountaintops, that is when the night ends and the dawn begins. Sage says, no, my sons. When two travelers from the opposite ends of our land meet and embrace each other as brothers, and when they realize that they sleep under the same sky, see the same stars, and dream the same dreams, that is when the night ends and the dawn begins. There has been many a dark night in the history of our country. Let the slogan of New India not presage a false dawn. Let us embrace each other in a narrative of brotherhood and fraternity amid all the divisiveness and bigotry spawned by some, so that truly the night can end and dawn shine upon all Indians again. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, for your enlightening words on reimagining the very definition of minority in the idea of India. We apologize for truncating your time. But ladies and gentlemen, we're now about to witness the Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award 2019 for Community and Human Renewal being presented to Ms. Aruna Roy and the Mastoor Sangathan. The award consists of a citation, a medallion, and 5 lakh rupees. First, the citation will be read by Reverend Father Saji Youhanon, Secretary of the Delhi Diocese of the Orthodox Church. Ladies and gentlemen, Reverend Father Saji Youhanon.
Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award 2019 for outstanding contribution in the fields of public life, social integration and community renewal, presented to Ms. Aruna Roy and the Mastoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan. The Paulos Mar Gregorios Award 2019 for outstanding contribution to community and human renewal is presented to Ms. Aruna Roy in recognition of her lifelong and outstanding contributions to championing the cause of workers and agricultural laborers in the Rajasthan and her significant role in effecting transparency and accountability in governance which culminated in the Right to Information Act, RTI, in 2005. Ms. Aruna Roy is a socio-political activist and founder member of the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangadan, MKSS, National Campaign for People's Right to Information, NCPRI, and the School of Democracy. Her tireless work in these areas has won her much international recognition, including the Magsaysay Award in 2000, the Nani Palkiwali Award, and the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Award. Ms. Aruna Roy commenced her career of distinguished service, first with the Indian Administrative Service from 1968 to 1975. It was during this period that she became involved with the cause of the agricultural laborers in Ransaman district of Rajasthan, advocating their constitutional and salary rights. By strengthening the democratic processes, especially the right to minimum wage and to live a life with dignity and justice. Ms. Aruna Roy has been pivotal force behind the MKSS and has worked for accessing constitutional rights of the poor, right to information, employment and food security. As such, her efforts lead her to be considered as one of the most influential people by Time magazine in 2011. Such a rich repository of social activism has made Ms. Aruna Roy a much sought-after teacher, evidenced by her record of professor of practice at McGill University, Montreal, Canada. The 2016 George Soros Visiting Practitioner Chair in CU Budapest and other internationally reputed educational institutions. While she leads these organizations from the front, her commitment to the causes are worth following. Involving people across the board, the campaign began to spread its message via Jan Sunwais, dharnas, hunger strikes, and padayatras. And those are only a few of the path-breaking achievements of Ms. Aruna Roy. Perhaps her greatest triumph can be witnessed every day when women enjoy their equality with their male counterparts. Leader, visionary, and social activist, Ms. Aruna Roy is all this and more. A life that provides true testimony to the effectiveness of holistic development for our world today and for the generations to come. New Delhi, 28 July 2019.
Thank you very much, Reverend Father Youhanon. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now about to witness the 2019 Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award for Community and Human Renewal being conferred on Ms. Aruna Roy and the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan. May I also invite Nikhil Dey and Shankar Singh of the MKSS to join us on stage to receive the award on behalf of MKSS. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly stand up for this moment when the 2019 Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award for Community and Human Renewal, which will be conferred on Ms. Aruna Roy and MKSS by His Excellency, the former President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, the 2019 Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award for Community and Human Renewal to Ms. Aruna Roy and the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan by His Excellency, the former President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee. The award contains a citation, a medallion, and 5 lakh rupees. Once again, a round of applause for Ms. Aruna Roy and the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan. Ladies and gentlemen, as the dignitaries pose for the photographs and take their respective places back on the dais, may I now invite Ms. Aruna Roy for her acceptance speech.
Honorable former President, His Excellency Shri Pranab Mukherjee, Grace, Shashi Tharoor, friends, dignitaries, in the memory of Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios, a person who resonates with the lives that Nikhil and I and Shankar have led in the last 30 years or more. It's amazing that a person like Dr. Paulos Mar Demetrios really chalked out for many of us the kind of path we take when we look at humanity. The biggest loss in today's world, we look around us, is the extreme cultural acceptance of interfaith, of understanding. The Constitution only lives in practice, and if we want constitutional rights, we have to assert that every individual, every single individual, regardless of religion, caste, creed, color, race, or gender, has the equality that was promised in the Constitution. It's been a long and difficult battle, and we thought we had reached a kind of Makkah with the RTI in 2005. But just a few days ago, we now know that paradise can be lost very easily when there are people in Parliament who decide that everyone doesn't have the right to know. It's been a difficult task. It will continue to be a difficult task. But with this prayer, which was enunciated for us by Rabindranath Tagore, where the mind is without fear, where the head is held high, a poem I just learned to recite as a very young girl, but today it's the dominant prayer in my mind because it talks about narrow domestic walls, it talks about knowledge when it's free, it talks about the clear stream of reason, and all these things are lost to us today. St. Thomas was part of my history. I am from Tamil Nadu, and I grew up knowing about St. Thomas Mount many years ago. He's part of my culture. He's part of my life, just as many others are. This holistic culture that was part of India's is being attacked by restricting our freedom of expression, which is also freedom to practice religion, freedom to speak different languages, and to live life as we all have lived. And here, my friends and colleagues who are here in this audience with Nikhil and Chandra receive this award from all of you with great deal of honor and many thanks, because it recognizes the work of thousands or lakhs of Indians who use the RTI, who struggle for gender freedom, who struggle for asserting rights, and who have to practice the fearlessness to face a very irate and sometimes a very vengeful state, to state what should be actually constitutionally sound, ethical, correct positions. So I and my friends, I've been given 5 minutes, but I would like Shankar and Nikhil just to say a few words, because everything in social activism is a collective. I'm so used to being part of a crowd, whether it's sitting and protesting, or whether it's singing, or whether it's talking. It's never a single person, and that's why democracy is so important to all of us, because it's not a single person, and no single person, however great, can actually have the wisdom and the common sense to lead or to deliver for a country which has 1.2 billion people. So I will request Nikhil and Shankar to take 1 minute each to say something, because we all went to Devamri together. We lived in this village mud hut where we still live, and from there, learning from each other and learning from all the others who joined us in this extraordinary journey, we have come to where we are today. First, I'll request Shankar, and then I'll request Nikhil, or in whichever order they want to speak.
I'll just say a line. We've been hearing all evening about the idea of minorities and majorities, and Mr. Shashi Tharoor talked about it. Our entire work has been with marginalized communities and people, but we have found that when they come together, the marginalized coming together in humanity are actually the majority of this country. The majority that is asserting itself today as a so-called majority is only an assertion of power and brute force. That can never prevail over the majority of humanity. That's what the RTI was. And even if a small minority chooses to try and amend or weaken any of those rights, that large majority of humanity will prevail.
I also want to thank Shashi Tharoor for making that extraordinarily good speech in the Lok Sabha, which actually has gave us a big pep and a pep up. We are today in the weightlifting stadium, and I thought it was ironic that we should come here to lift our spirits today. Though we can't lift weights, I'm sure we'll lift our spirits high up with all your affection and your regard and your solidarity. I'm sure we'll go ahead. Shankar will sing. He's a singer. He's been singing our songs. And if you don't mind, you can join us. So we'll just sing a couple of lines of our songs to say thank you to all of you, to thank the Diocese, to thank His Holiness, to thank every single member has come today for participating in a collective event expressing faith in humanity and faith in solidarity.
तो ये गीत जब धरने पे बैठे थे लोगों ने तो गाया कि सरकार क्या हमें क्या चाहिए और क्या नहीं चाहिए। तो मैं इस गीत में कुछ लाइनें बोलूँगा, आपको बोलना मैं नहीं मांगा, नहीं चाहिए। अरे सोना चांदी मैं लमा लिया, अरे मोटो बंगलो बंगला में गाड़ी, गाड़ी में कुत्तो, कुत्ता के पट्टो, पट्टा के साकड़, अरे मोटो बंगलो बंगला में बरामदो, बरामदा में गमलो, गमला में बेलड़ी, मारुति गाड़ी, कॉन्टेसा कार, अरे हीरो होंडा, ये नहीं चाहिए। तो पेप्सी कोला, अरे कैंपा कोला, अरे कोका कोला, अरे लिम्का सिमका, अरे मैंगो फ्रूटी, इसमें नहीं। बियर की बोतल, दारू की थैली, ये नहीं चाहिए।
खाने के लिए भी नहीं है, पीने के लिए भी पानी नहीं है।
लंच डिनर, ब्रेकफास्ट, मुर्ग मसाला, उबलोड़ा अंडा, अरे अंकल चिप्स, दाल फ्राई, पालक पनीर, मलाई कोफ्ता, अरे गरम जलेबी, अरे ऊना भजिया, अरे मिर्ची बड़ो, अरे कोफ्तो, अरे कचौड़ी, कचौड़ी में खाटो, दिमाग सड़ गया। फिर क्या चाहिए?
हमें क्या चाहिए? हमें तो मजदूरी चाहिए, हमें अपना रहने सहने के अपना घर में गरिमा चाहिए, जीने का अधिकार चाहिए।
पहले बताइए, इतना टाइम खराब किया। मैं बताऊँ आपको क्या चाहिए? आपको रोटी रोटी, पूरी मजदूरी, बढ़ेंगे मैं मांगा, 1 साल 2 सीटें मैं मांगा। रोजी रोटी, पूरी मजदूरी, स्कूल में पढ़ाई, अस्पताल में दवाई, पंचायत को खर्चो और लेखो जोखो, मस्टोड़ा की नकला, बिल वाउचर, आगे फोटो कॉपी, बिजली को खर्चो, राशन को खर्चो, गैस को खर्चो, खर्चा को हिसाब, सूचना को अधिकार, इतना लड़के जिसको मांगा। 3 दिन पहले पार्लियामेंट ने एक ऐसा इंजेक्शन लगाया कि वो RTI कोमा में चली गई। सरकार ने उसमें खूब लोगों ने विरोध किया, खूब लोगों ने विरोध किया कि मत लगाओ ये इंजेक्शन, लेकिन फिर भी लगाया और उसको कोमा में डाल दिया। आपकी हमारी जिम्मेदारी इस कोमा से वापस लाने की।
थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of the 2019 Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award for Community and Human Renewal, Aruna Roy and may I now invite the chief guest for this evening's function, His Excellency the former President of the Republic of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, to deliver the chief guest address. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for His Excellency Shri Pranab Mukherjee.
Mrs. Aruna Roy, His Holiness Baselios, Thoma, Paulos II, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, MP, His Grace Dr. Youhanon Mar Demetrios, Reverend Dr. T.M. George, Father Sadi Youhanon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a privilege and also pleasure to be present amidst you this evening on the occasion of Paulos Mar Demetrios Award 2019, which has been conferred on Mrs. Aruna Roy. I congratulate her and I appreciate the members of the jury and the decision-making bodies to choose the right person at the right time to recognize her service by this award. I knew Mrs. Roy for over a long period of time, now more than 3 decades. And I saw her indomitable spirit to fight for a cause. She had the experience at the very beginning of how the administration of this great country is run. Civil servants who execute the policies of the policymakers who are subjected to the approval of members of parliament of their policies. But those are being actually implemented by the civil servants working at the grassroots. And Indian Administrative Service, to which she belonged, not for long. Thanks and to the blessings of the people of this country, that she did not confine her energies to the civil service and to benefit a few areas, people belonging to them, because in her service she could not expand her activity as she has expanded today. I saw her actually fighting for the cause when right to information was debated in Parliament, and before that it was discussed by a group of ministers. When Dr. Manmohan Singh had to lead a coalition in 2 terms, 2004 to 9 and 9 to 2014, Major part of this coalition, I was his colleague, first as Defence Minister, then as Foreign Minister, and then as Finance Minister. And in almost all major legislations, which required broad consensus, it was discussed in a group of ministers, which normally was presided over by me. When right to information was being debated after the in principle approval in cabinet, Mrs. Roy pointed out clause by clause, word by word, in each and every clause, in each and every article, and in summing up the overall context, we could ultimately get the consensus in the cabinet, because consensus in the cabinet was needed. It was not a single party government, but a multi-party government. Similarly, two other major legislations, which I call landmark legislations of this country, because most of the earlier legislations were expression in legal terms, the intention of the policymakers. But certain trend was visible, and rightly so. It was a good trend that legislations which provides entitlement to people must backed by the legal sanction and legal entitlement. To right backed by law, entitlement backed by law was the order of the day, particularly in regard to the right to information, right to job, right to education, right to food. These four landmark legislations, these principles were followed. To what extent it is being implemented now, I am not in a position to judge. But surely, I know the intention when we introduced it, when we worked on it, when we collectively had a very long hours of discussions with various cross-sections of the people. Here I would like to share with you a personal note. While in a foreign country, addressing a press conference, I was confronted with a question that Mr. Mukherjee will find in the media, that you were presiding over the negotiations along with some of your cabinet colleagues for making a legislation in your country. How is it? In parliamentary democracy, legislation is the domain of the members of the parliament, members of the assembly chosen by the people. Exclusive jurisdiction, it is the domain of them. How you can negotiate a legislation with a group of people who are not members of parliament, not members of state legislatures, not chosen by the people. They themselves decided to fight for a cause, and they drafted the legislation, Lokpal bill, and you discussed with them not one or two sittings, but days together. To them my response was, and that is my response, if somebody puts the questions even today, that Indian democracy has taken a new dimension. We believe that if the democracy is to be successful, it must not be confined to the wisdom and knowledge of 700 80 plus members of Lok Sabha and Parliament, and 4,200 plus members of the legislative of 29 legislative assemblies of the state. It's a land of 1.3 billion people. If the views of the legislatures and their wisdom was enough, we did not get the Right to Information Act as it was before the last amendment which the Parliament did. I have not gone through it in details. But prior to that, it was a quality piece of legislation to have the information, because it is based on the experiences which Mrs. Roy and her colleagues found out. I do not know whether many of you have noticed. 17 Lok Sabha elections are over. Results have come few months back. Out of 543, I think one seat election did not take place. Out of 542 Lok Sabha constituencies, spread all over the country, there is not a single place in Indian territory which does not have a member of Lok Sabha. Whether it is snow-capped villages in the north or wave-washed territories in the south, mountainous regions in the east, or desert in the west and northwest. Each and every part has a member of the member, as a representative in Parliament. But I do not know whether I have noticed. Never. And I emphasize on the word never. From 1952 to 2019, in no Lok Sabha elections, in many elections, Indian electorate have given an overwhelming majority to a ruling party. In 1984, elections after assassination of Mrs. Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi received a massive mandate, more than that of Jawaharlal Nehru, 415 seats out of 543. Nehru did never get that. But not 51% of the popular vote. In each election, people's verdict, popular votes are divided. No ruling combination or ruling party has ever got 51%. How do you interpret it? My interpretation as a political activist is very simple. Indian electorate want to convey the message to the ruling party who will form the government. Yes, you are entitled to form the government with majority of the seats. But you are also to take those who are more than your supporters along with you in your policies, in your program. Unfortunately, this message of the Indian electorate we have never taken. That's why we think that when we have overwhelming majority in the legislature, we can do anything and everything we like. That's not. Mr. Shashi Tharoor was very scholarly and very effectively presenting his concept of India. Yes, this concept of India has allured many people. India is an idea, as Jawaharlal Nehru observed. And please remember when you observe these words, which I am going to quote. These words came from the pain of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru when he was confined to Ahmednagar Fort, being arrested on 9th August 1942 as a result of Quit India movement and was released in 1945. In these 3 years, he wrote his book Discovery of India in the prison. And in those books he commented on India, which I think is the most appropriate appreciation of India's character. I quote, India is a geographical and economic entity, a cultural unity amidst diversity, bundle of contradictions, held together by strong but invisible threads, overwhelmed again and again, sometimes by foreigners, more than often, her spirit was never conquered and she remains unsubdued and unconquered. About her elusive quality of a legend of long ago, some enchantment seems to have held her mind. She is a myth and an idea, a dream and a vision, and yet real and present and pervasive. Real, present and pervasive. That India's desire, its mandates, its mind, simply you cannot gauge by the number of seats in the legislature you are winning or not. You shall have to carry the large section of the people, apart from the chosen representatives of them in the general election. That's why there is need. I am happy that you have chosen Aruna Roy, that she began a powerful dialogue, which is the most important instrument in democracy to achieve the rights and privileges of the people which are guaranteed by the Constitution. She did not demand any extra constitutional privilege or rights which has been enshrined in the Constitution, which has been treated as fundamental. Courts of judgment from the highest court have recognized them as they are to be implementable and they are to be implemented by the executive. It is the mandate of the Constitution, fundamental rights under Part 3 of the Constitution. Therefore, these rights, he fought for that. Right to know, right to have, freedom of expression, right to liberty, right to life, right to practice any faith, any religion. And that is India. When I shut my eyes and I think of India, the land mass of 3.3 million square kilometers, populated by 1.3 billion people, living from Mizoram to Dwarka, from Himalayan villages to Cape Comorin, using in their daily life more than 200 languages and 1600 dialects, practicing 7 major religions, belonging to 3 major ethnic groups, Mongolite, Caucasians, Dravidians, yet with a common identity. That identity is Indian because it believes in pluralism, because it celebrates pluralism, not merely acceptance. because it believes unity in diversity, because it believes that India is an idea which can be fulfilled by its idea, belief in diversity, believes in pluralism, not uniformity. Cultural diversity, religious diversity. That's why as a state it does not require an antithesis to synthesize in its everyday life, in its cultural life, in its social life. It makes adjustment with so many contradictions, a bundle of contradictions. And in language of Jawaharlal Nehru, bundle of contradictions, yet tied together by thread. Threads are invisible, but they are existing. Yet, I do believe in this India there is no room. It will never be accepted, any intolerance, any attempt to straighten it in one jacket. We will always have to celebrate diversity, pluralism, and amidst the pluralism, we shall have to keep our heads high together, not surrounded by hard ritualism, not walled by narrow domestic considerations. And it is the outcome of millennia. In the language of Rabindranath, nobody knows at whose beckoning call millions of streams of humanity came in indomitable ways from all over the world, over the millennia, and mingled like rivers into this vast ocean and created an individual soul that is called Bharat. And that Bharat is immortal, that cannot be compartmentalized, that cannot be put in a straight jacket. It will have its diversity, plurality, not merely tolerance, but celebration. What is needed? Celebration of this diversity, of this pluralism. That is spirit of India, and that spirit of India can never die. Therefore, I would not like to lengthen my observations. I have written several points, but with this note, I would like to conclude that your organizations, your church, is working for this celebration of diversity. In today's your recognition of Dr. Aruna Roy's services, Aruna Roy and her associates, our organization, Youhanon Shakti Sangathan. By awarding them, we are awarding ourselves. We are awarding the vast diversity of this country. We are awarding the energies, enthusiasm, indomitable spirit of the millions upon millions who are working day after day, night after night, in all over India, in each and every part of this great country, to serve the people, to serve the humanity. Let us join them and celebrate those forces. Perhaps that is the message of the day. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, His Excellency, former President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, for those insightful words that democracy in India is not just the repository of a handful of parliamentarians or legislators, that democracy belongs to each and every one of us. And India, as was envisioned by our founding fathers and as was described by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, as a bundle of contradictions that is held together by these invisible threads, she shall always remain a diverse and plural idea. As we conclude, may I now invite His Holiness the Catholicos of the East, Youhanon Mar Baselios Thoma Paulose II, to present a memento to our chief guest, His Excellency, former President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee. Ladies and gentlemen, we all have a round of applause for and shawl to be presented to our chief guest for this evening's function. It's being presented by His Holiness the Catholicos of the East, Youhanon Mar Demetrios, Thoma Paulose II, to His Excellency the former President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee. Can we have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our chief guest and for his very valuable and insightful words. Pranab, the elder statesman that he is. May I also now request His Holiness the Catholicos of the East to present a memento and a shawl to Member of Parliament from Thiruvananthapuram. Can we have a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Dr. Shashi Tharoor, Member of Parliament. Thank you very much. May I also now invite His Grace Dr. Youhanon Mar Demetrios to present a memento to His Holiness the Catholicos of the East, Youhanon Mar Baselios Thoma Paulose II. Thank you very much. His Grace and His Holiness. May I now invite, in conclusion, Reverend Father Dr. K.M. George, the former principal of the Orthodox Theological Seminary, Kottayam, and the founder member of the Sophia Society, to propose the vote of thanks.
Your Excellency, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, Your Holiness the Catholicos, Shrimati Aruna Roy, Shri Shashi Tharoor, Metropolitan Mar Demetrios, distinguished dignitaries, ambassadors, clergy, sisters and brothers. Dr. Shashi Tharoor has rightly referred to the World Parliament of Religions and the historic speech made by the legendary monk and scholar from Calcutta, Swami Vivekananda. And he also drew a parallel between Vivekananda and Mar Gregorios. In 1993, when the World Parliament of Religions celebrated its 100th anniversary in Chicago, another Indian monk and scholar, Paulos Mar Gregorios, was invited to deliver the inaugural address, and he referred proudly to Swami Vivekananda, and then he reiterated the famous dictum, not one religion for all humanity, but one humanity for all religions. With his inspired vision of a new humanity, Mar Gregorios focuses enormous intellectual endowment and spiritual energy to create a solid common ground for various religions, ideologies and political structures to meet in the service of this one humanity. He crisscrossed the continents to dialogue with, to challenge and even to confront statesmen and scholars, scientists and social thinkers in the cause of peace and justice. A highly critical of the Western Enlightenment, European Enlightenment and the colonial movement, he brilliantly called for a new enlightenment rooted in the Indian and Asian wisdom traditions. When he created the Delhi Orthodox Center in 1985, he dedicated spaces for a Sarva Dharma Nilaya and a Nidhi Shanti Kendra, which reflected his overarching concerns for the future of the world. The way in which he chaired for a week the international encounter of renowned scientists, theologians and social thinkers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1978 on the future of the world has become legendary. The Mahatma Gandhi University in Kerala created an academic chair in his name in 1998 to honor his remarkable intellectual interdisciplinary contributions to the contemporary world. Memory eternal. Now, let me come to the part of the vote of thanks. Your Excellency, Pranab Mukherjee, we have always been inspired by your committed vision for our nation and your laudable initiatives to create a true human community from the grassroots. Your heart was always with the common people, even when you occupied the most eminent seat in our country. Sir, please accept our very hearty gratitude. Your Holiness, you know how much you venerate the memory of your own great teacher, Mar Gregorios. We now humbly thank you for your gracious presence and pastoral guidance here. Shri Aruna Roy, your unyielding and lifelong struggle in the company of your committed team to uphold human dignity and justice to the marginalized have created significant landmarks in our civil society. If Bishop Paulos Mar Demetrios were here right now, he would have touched your feet with respectful appreciation of your commitment to the poor and the least ones of our society. Madam, please accept our most sincere gratitude for your acceptance of the award. Dr. Shashi Tharoor is our own beloved member of Parliament from God's own country. We count on his reputation, creative openness to the larger world, and his youthful dynamism as signals of hope for our nation. Sir, please accept our grateful regards. It would be superfluous to thank Dr. Youhanon Mar Demetrios, for he is our chief host on this occasion. Yet, in the name of all assembled here, Your Grace, let me express our deep appreciation for your eminent leadership and pastoral guidance. I also thank Father Youhanon, being the Diocese Secretary in all these activities. To the distinguished guests, the ambassadors, bishops, clergy and other dignitaries, I express our sincere gratitude. Our special thanks go to the media personnel present here. Let me also gratefully remember the service was rendered by the late Pranab and MOSC in the early planning of this event. Above all, our brothers and sisters in the audience, from various churches and social circles, to you I say thank you from the depth of my heart, because you constitute the heart of the matter. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Thank you very much, Dr. K.M. George. May I request all present here to rise for the national anthem. Thank you very much. With that, we come to the conclusion of the 2019 Paulos Mar Gregorios Award Ceremony. I request the audience to kindly remain seated as the dignitaries on the dais, the former president and the other dignitaries, make their way outside the hall. The VVIPs will be taken to the VVIP lounge, which is right adjacent to this hall. I request the audience to kindly remain seated as the dignitaries on the stage exit the hall. And as they leave, may I just remind the audience present here, there are two exits right behind. Both are marked with a red light. Those are the only two exits out of this hall. There are no other exits for the general audience. All the clergymen who are present here, kindly use the exit on the right-hand side of this hall. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience and for being such a wonderful audience. Thank you. Good night. Jai Hind.
ശ്രദ്ധിക്കുക, എല്ലാവരും കൂടി ഒരുമിച്ച് ഇരിക്കുന്നിടത്ത് എഴുന്നേറ്റ് പോയി ഡോറിൽ ചെന്ന് തള്ളുണ്ടാകേണ്ട. അല്പം ഒന്ന് വെയിറ്റ് ചെയ്താൽ അതായിരിക്കും നമ്മുടെ സാക്ഷ്യത്തിന് ഏറ്റവും നല്ലത്.
certain stages of development. അതിൽ പ്രിമിറ്റീവ് സോഷ്യലിസം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഫ്യൂഡലിസം ഉണ്ടായി, അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ക്യാപിറ്റലിസം ഉണ്ടായി, അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഉണ്ടാകുന്ന ഒരു സ്റ്റേജാണ് സോഷ്യലിസം. ഇൻ ദി സോഷ്യലിസ്റ്റ് സ്റ്റേജ് the enemies of communism are still functioning. The class struggle is not yet over. So long as the oppressor exploiter class is living, communism cannot be established. Communism establishes itself only in a classless society. So long as the class war is going on, only socialism is possible.
Established in 52 AD in Kerala, the Malankara Orthodox Church is today a global church with over 33 dioceses across continents. The Delhi Diocese of the Indian Orthodox Church was formed in 1975 under the visionary leadership of Metropolitan, His Grace Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios. Later, under the aegis and dedication of His Grace Job Mar Philoxenus. Our current Metropolitan, His Grace Dr. Youhanon Mar Demetrios, with his astute leadership and prayerful guidance, carry forward the vision and mission of our forefathers. Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios was a multifaceted phenomenon and a humble servant of humanity, an articulator of the Orthodox faith across the world, a biblical scholar and teacher. Mar Gregorios was an exponent of sacred traditions, promoter of unity among Orthodox Christians and an ecumenical leader, dedicating his entire life and mission to interfaith dialogue and cooperation. He rightly served as the president of World Council of Churches. Paulos Mar Gregorios was a scholar, philosopher, author, educationist, editor, public speaker, socio-political thinker, lover of children and of nature. He was a strong advocate of women's equality, environmental integrity and holistic health. He was a strong crusader against exploitation, discrimination and neo-colonialism and religious cultural arrogance. Globally, he is known as an activist for disarmament, justice and peace, on which he has written and spoken at length. A true seeker of knowledge and truth, Mar Gregorios represented not just the Orthodox Church, but exemplified the ideals of the entire human race. In the blessed memory of his great leader, the Sophia Society instituted the Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award. The first Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award was presented in 1997 to His Holiness the Dalai Lama for his exemplary contribution to interfaith dialogue and religious harmony. In 1999, Dr. Verghese Kurian was awarded the Paulos Mar Gregorios Award for Community Self-Renewal by His Excellency K.R. Narayanan, the late President of India. The third Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award was presented to Dr. P.K. Warrior for his holistic medicine. The fourth Paulos Mar Gregorios Award was conferred upon a man whom Gandhi described as fearless warrior, Dr. Baba Amte, for his courageous optimism and selfless serving of the poor people suffering from leprosy. The fifth Paulos Mar Gregorios Award for outstanding contribution in the fields of interfaith dialogue and culture was awarded in 2010 to Karan Singh. Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios Award 2019 is being conferred on Aruna Roy, an Indian social activist known for her efforts to fight corruption and promote government transparency, with special emphasis on the rights of farmers in India. She is also the founder of Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan. Former President of India, Shri Pranab Mukherjee, will be presenting the award in the august presence of His Holiness Youhanon Mar Baselios Thoma Paulose II, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, MP of Trivandrum, and in the presence of various secular and religious leaders. As we commemorate and celebrate the ideals and visions of Dr. Paulos Mar Gregorios, it is time once again to dedicate ourselves to the great visionary leader's cause for humanity. As Mar Gregorios expressed in his own word, it is our faith in the divine that permits us to freely accept the whole of humanity in a warm embrace of love and respect.